I've spent the last few years obsessing over what clutter actually does to us. Not just the visual mess, but the way it shows up in every part of our lives. There are 30 days until summer, and nobody wants to drag all of that stuff into a new season. So, if your home and life are feeling anything other than calm, in control, and ready, here is exactly what I'd do if I had 30 days to lock in and declutter every area of my life. 30 days in 3 phases. Let's get into it. Phase 1 is your physical space, and that is going to go from days 1 to 10. We start with the physical space, not because it is the most important, but because it is the most visible. When you can immediately see the results of your effort, it builds this momentum for everything else that comes after it. Before I give you the day-by-day breakdown in this phase, we need to set 3 ground rules that are going to either make or break this phase. First, don't try to do everything at once. Each day is going to get a zone, not a whole room, a zone. One drawer, one shelf, one category, one type of item, 30 to 45 minutes max. You will get way more done in a focused 30 minutes than in an exhausted 4-hour session. This will also make the whole thing a lot more doable, especially if you're one of my neurodivergent ADHD baddies, or if you have low energy, or you have a very full life and you just don't have a lot of time. You do not need a free weekend, just 30 minutes. Rule numero dos. Second rule, let go fast. Whether it is donating or throwing stuff away, get it out of your house and out of your life. If you are donating, do not let these bags sit in your car for the next 6 weeks. If you are selling, do it immediately. If you are trashing it, take the trash out. The moment those things leave your space, something just shifts, and not just in your home, but in you. Third, every single decision in this phase will be made through this lens. Does this belong to the life that I am actively living right now? That's it. Not do I love it? Because we can convince ourselves that we love almost anything. Also, not could it be useful someday? Because whether you are a baby hoarder or you are a full blown, I need an intervention hoarder, someday is the graveyard of every hoarder's good intentions. So, if it does not support the life that you are actually living and actively working toward, let it go. Now that we have the rules, here's what we're going to do day by day. Days 1 and 2, clear your surfaces. Every surface in your home, countertops, tables, windowsills, the floor around your bed. Everything that is on a surface either gets put in a proper home, gets donated, or it gets the boot. Surfaces are your visual baseline. When they're clear, your whole home feels different before you have touched a single drawer. This alone is going to change how you feel walking into a room. Days 3 and 4, we're tackling the closet. A lot of people use "have I worn this in a year" as their filter. And most people will talk themselves out of getting rid of something because of that. So I want you to swap it for this. Does it belong to who I am right now? I told you. This is the lens that we are looking at things. That question is going to cut through the rationalization a lot faster than "have I used this in a year?" If the answer is no, that it doesn't fit who I am or who I'm actively becoming, then it needs to go. If you find yourself kind of hiccuping here where you're just like not sure what to do not worry. There will be time for you to come back to it later throughout these 30 days, but you do need to start the process. Days 5 and 6, kitchen and bathroom. These are your daily function spaces and they accumulate stuff fast. So go through every cabinet. If something is expired, chuck it. If something hasn't been used in 3 months and it isn't seasonal, let it go. The goal here is to remove the friction from your daily routines so that the basic maintenance of your life stops feeling like it takes so much effort. Days 7 and 8 are the guilt items. I'm giving these their own dedicated days because they need them. Guilt clutter is the stuff that you keep, not because you use it, not even because you love it, but because of what it represents. The expensive thing that you bought and that you never used, the gift from someone you love, the course that you paid for and never finished. Keeping something out of guilt doesn't honor the person who gave it to you or the money that was spent. It just keeps you in this low level state of shame every time you look at it. Days 9 and 10 are the identity items, the equipment for the hobby that you've told yourself you would get back to for the past 3 years, the books that project the kind of intellectual that you want to be seen as, the things from a past relationship that you still haven't processed. So they just sit there. I want you to touch each one of those things and I want you to ask yourself honestly, Is this for the person that I actually am, or for the version of myself that I've been scared to let go? Trust the process. It might be hard, but there will be a lot of clarity that comes when you do that. Now, on day 10, I want you to do a full walkthrough of your home. Look at everything that you have already cleared and remove anything that may have survived that first pass, but is still not feeling right. Before we go to phase 2, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I want to do it, but I know myself, and left to my own devices, I am just not going to follow through alone. I invite you to check out the KDT Collective. It is my membership for women who are done trying to figure out everything by themselves. The community, the accountability, the support when the motivation dips, it is all in there. If that sounds like something you need, check it out. The link is below. Phase 2 is systems and daily life, and it is going to cover days 11 through 18. So here's how phase 2 works. The physical clutter, it doesn't stop. It just drops to a lower tier where you're spending about 15 to 20 minutes a day going back to spaces or categories that either you haven't touched yet or that felt emotionally complicated when you passed by them before. What you're adding is a daily focus on the systems and the functions of your actual life, your routines, your schedule, your digital spaces, really just the infrastructure that either makes your day feel really smooth or it creates this sense of stress from the moment you wake up. Days 11 to 12, we're looking at your attention inputs. What is getting access to your brain before you've decided where you want your attention to go? For a lot of people, the first hour of the day is being shaped by everybody else's agenda. And so these 2 days are about auditing that. For some people, it's the phone that they check before they get out of bed, or a habit of turning on the news and that being the first thing that you get every single morning. Maybe it is notifications or your social media feed that leaves you feeling behind before the day has even started. The point of this isn't to eliminate all inputs, it's just to make sure that they are a choice rather than a default. Days 13 through 15 are the accumulation layer. The thing is, you didn't choose to have 8,000 unread emails. You just never chose not to. These are things that you had the best of intentions around, but you didn't make a decision about them, and now they have gotten crowded and cluttered and a bit overwhelming. Cancel the subscriptions that you're not using. Unsubscribe from the emails that either make you feel bad every time they land in your inbox or that you never open because you just don't care. Clear the camera roll of all of the debris, the blurry photos, the duplicates, the screenshots that you never are going to use or go back to. Let it go and it will feel so freeing. For day 16, you're going to look at how your week is actually structured. Where are there things that take longer than there should? What are tasks that keep getting bumped because they don't have a real home in your week? Maybe transitions that always feel rushed. Even look at and identify the parts of your day that consistently drain you, not because they're hard, but because of how they're placed. This is about noticing where the structure of your time is working against you instead of for you. 1 or 2 small shifts can actually change how your week feels, which is going to compound every single day for the rest of the summer. Day 17 and 18, we're focusing on functionality. While having too much stuff can be a problem, a lot of daily friction doesn't come from having too much stuff, but stuff being in the wrong place. For example, is your desk arranged for how you actually work? Is your kitchen organized around how you actually cook? Is the thing that you reach for every morning in a place that makes it easy to get to? My hubby and I, we recently reorganized some things in our kitchen because there were just things that were not functional in our pantry, in our like cookware, all of that stuff. So we just had to move some things around and it has made things so much easier to get to. That's the difference between a decluttered space and an intentional one. And fixing that is often way faster than we think. We're now in phase 3, which is your life architecture. And it's running from days 19 through 30. I've spent the last few years obsessing over what clutter actually does to us. Your energy, your confidence, your relationships, even the opportunities that you're willing to go after. The thing about this phase is that most people don't see it as a clutter problem, and not dealing with it is the reason why you can have a perfectly aesthetic home where things are clean and organized, but you still feel like something is off. You have essentially redecorated the house but left the foundation cracked. Life architecture is everything about how you have structured your time, your energy, your relationships, and your identity. So let's go through each one of them. Days 19 and 20, we're dealing with your calendar. Screenshot or print out what is happening over the next 4 weeks and look at every single commitment. For each one of those, I want you to ask yourself honestly, if this wasn't already in my calendar, would I still agree to it? The ones that get a reluctant, I guess I have to, those are worth a real conversation with yourself. You may not be able to exit everything or take all of the things off your list, but at least naming the difference between genuine desire and obligation is going to give you a lot of clarity all on its own. It's also going to show you where you can and potentially need to protect your energy, which isn't selfish. You can't show up for the things that matter if you're showing up for everything. Days 21 and 22, take a look at your relationships. There are people whose names come up in your phone and it creates this small involuntary lift where you get excited about it. And then there are people whose names come up and you immediately, without even thinking about it, just kind of dread it. You know exactly who is in each category. For the connections that consistently leave you feeling depleted, you don't have to end everything, but you're allowed to recalibrate how much of yourself you want to give. I have found that the people around you are either evidence for your growth or evidence against it. Days 23 through 24, your social media consumption. This is about who you follow and what it's telling you about how you see yourself, because the accounts that you return to on a consistent basis are in some way a reflection of the story that you're running about your own life. If you consistently feel worse after spending time with certain accounts, unfollow, mute, archive, and then I also want you to pay attention to what you choose to fill that space with instead, because that choice is its own kind of signal. Days 25 and 26 are mental clutter and open loops. I want you to get a piece of paper and write down every open loop in your head. I actually do this pretty much every single day because I have so many things that need to get done, and I feel really, really stressed out when I don't know exactly what those things are. And getting it out from my head onto paper gives me so much peace. So write down everything that needs to get done, everything that you feel like you should do, or things that you've been meaning to do. Then go through that list and do one of three things with each of them. Either do it immediately if it takes under 2 minutes, schedule it for a specific time, or give yourself that permission to let it go. This exercise is one of the most immediately relieving and satisfying things that you can do, because the weight of things that you have been carrying in your head without a plan for them is huge, and you don't realize it, and you don't realize how free you feel until that weight is gone. Days 27 and 28 are the emotional layer. Sit somewhere quiet, maybe with a journal, and ask yourself honestly, what am I still holding on to that I no longer need to carry? That might be an old resentment or some unforgiveness that has been living in your chest for years, or a version of yourself that you've grown out of, but you've never officially released. Maybe it is a mindset or a narrative that you have told about yourself so long that it feels like Bible about what you can or can't do. You don't have to resolve all of this in 2 days. In fact, you won't. But acknowledging it is that most important first step, because the things that we name lose their grip on us. Now, for days 29 and 30 and beyond, we're going to do 3 things that make this physical shift that you have made in your home permanent. First, a 1 in, 1 out rule. For every new object that comes into your home, one equivalent has to go, preferably the same day, but definitely in the same week, not eventually. This is going to make you consciously aware of the stuff that you are bringing into your home, making sure that there's space for it and that you're not crowding your space out with all of these things. Second, a landing zone. One basket or shelf or designated spot for things that don't yet have a home. And then once a week, you're going to take a moment to process it and put it where it goes. And third, we're going to implement a closing shift. This is going to be a 5 to 15-minute block of time that you have every single night to make sure that before you go to bed, the things in your home are where they should be. Waking up to visual noise and clutter is not fun for anybody. So these 3 systems alone will keep your space from recluttering almost immediately. Those things are surface level, but we need to talk about the mindset that makes this stick, because there is one reason that people declutter and they feel amazing and then find themselves back in the exact same spot 6 months later. They treated decluttering as an event rather than an identity. This is the deeper shift that you're going to make. You are not someone who occasionally tidies up. You are someone who lives intentionally, someone who makes small and regular decisions to keep at the forefront of your brain the question of, does this still belong? Rather than letting avoidance build into overwhelm. And it means extending that same lens to the non physical parts of your life. Are the commitments on your calendar still the right ones? Are the people getting the most of your energy actually the people who matter the most? Are there things that you have been carrying mentally and emotionally that you can put down? For me, I found that doing this work shifted things permanently, where I developed this sensitivity and I noticed clutter in every part of my life a whole lot faster. You start to immediately notice when something enters your life that doesn't belong because you don't have any more tolerance for it. On day 30, I want you to write down how you want to feel this summer. Not goals, not a productivity plan, just a clear, honest statement of the feeling that you're moving toward. I want to feel clear this summer. I want to feel light. I want to feel rested. I want to have energy. I want to feel like I have space. Whatever it is, write it down and put it somewhere you can see, because that's going to be your compass. Summer is 30 days away and it is time to lock in. The version of you who does this work, who shows up in this season lighter and clearer and more deliberately constructed, is someone who raises the standard of life by locking in to move through the world completely differently. If there's a phase that you are most excited about or most nervous about, I would love to hear it. And if this framework resonated with you, but you want the fully structured day by day plan that feels like me in your pocket with you, with the deeper reasoning behind each day, the Declutter Your Life 30-day program has all of it. You can also find that linked below. Alrighty, my friends, that is it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know and share it with someone else who might need it. Also, if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? I'm gonna need you to jump on that. I love you so much, and I will see you next week for week 8 of our Level Up by Summer series. Mwah. Bye for now.